What's up, guys? I am feeling as razzled as my hairdo looks today. And the stock market was another down 5% day, as in the S&P 500. I think Qs were down. Let's see. Let's look at the final numbers here with some selling into the closing. I do have a feeling that, down 6% on the Qs. SPY down 5.8. Okay, it's about the same. Who cares? Do have a feeling that there is going to be a bouncy bounce, a violent bounce. It's going to be the most violent bounce in a while. Going to come, hopefully not Monday. Hopefully it gaps down again. Hopefully it doesn't bounce up overnight is what I mean, like opening higher. But knowing the president, this could all reverse over the weekend, and it could be right back up to, trading at maybe 536. I don't know on the SPY. I don't know what that is on the overall futures index, but because right now it's literally trading at 500. I didn't even realize that. Such a nice even number. Just a brutal chart. Okay, let me get some pictures up for you so you guys can see what I'm looking at. This is, I'm sure you all seen this if you're interested in stock stuff. This is the S&P 500. And this is the tariff announcement up here. This was yesterday, and this is the overnight gap down, and this is the sell through the day, and this is the rise in trading volumes. Let's see here. It honestly kind of is set up to like open higher. Probably set up for a really nice bounce if it really opens low. Although I don't trade the S&P a lot. We'll see. We'll see what happens over the weekend. As you can tell, I'm a little bit, not bothered by this whole thing, mainly because I hold everything in cash. No, it's not quite true. Some in money market. Oh, it's basically cash. And I just trade. That's all I do. I generally keep very specific to what I'm good at, and I don't really get into like longer term investing. I have been looking at gold. Gold is an interesting thing. Maybe if it drops about low 3,000 an ounce, I don't fucking know. I don't even know how to value all this stuff in my head. No comment on this aside from, okay, here's a note that I wrote to my buddies actually. It was so the Trump administration is essentially taking the profits out of the big multinational companies that make up a big chunk of the SPY. So you have a lot of these companies like Google, Meta, Tesla. Tesla's a little bit different, but they're all kind of like these multinational companies. And with the tariffs, one, they're going to get retaliated against. And two, they're probably going to have more trade barriers put up. Well, it's the same as retaliation, I guess. So two is their inputs are going to go up, and so it's shrinking their profit margin, which makes their stock go down. And he's essentially like, I was listening to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on the Tucker interview in the middle of the day today, and he was basically, their point of view is that equity holders are fine. They're going to continue to be fine. He's really signaling that he's very comfortable with this sell-off. And this was midday today after it being down quite a bit. And that he is basically saying that they need to prioritize workers and yada, yada, yada. And I think I'm done making commentary on what the moves that happen. But basically, they're taking the steam out of the stock market, in theory, to be able to benefit just the normal average Joe who doesn't own a stock. Yeah. Anyways, I'm up $377 today. Nothing crazy, nothing spectacular. Honestly, I was very cautious. Again, being a turtle. Okay, no, 378. My bad. But let me see here. Get some video out. It's actually so hard to review my own stuff when there's so much attention going to the overall market. Yeah, it's just really not as exciting. We have this AREB ICCT, but AREB, Arab American Rebel Co., whatever. They were the main player today. It did this nice red to green recovery. If you're watching as I fast forward through this, I traded the trades that I did take that were really good were out of this halt right here. And I've been working on my halt trading instincts because they really do need to be instincts. Sort of technical, but you have to be very fast. Keep playing video games, trying to get better. Not really getting any better at video games. But I have been noticing some improvement on this, and this is just going to be an example. I took some size here. So coming into the halt up, or the halt open, I noticed the price going up on the imbalance. I did an immediate buy. Got a little bit of money off that, waited for a little bit of hesitation here, and I think it does dip here below 50. Nope, it doesn't. And then boom, I'm able to unload up there. There's one more trade, the dip below 8, I think I take. There it goes. Here we go. Boom. 770, and at 79, out at 812, and it pops up to 860. Wow, dang. Really nice. And then I take another trade. It's a fail, and I kind of just like fumble my way from there. But I do keep most of my profit and make a little bit on some other stuff. Just playing very cautiously around the edges of the moves. Not really trading the moves. RSLS, I wasn't a part of this. AREB, I stopped trading it. NVDA, I had a small position here, like literally 10 shares. Could have played with like 100, 500 shares maybe. That would have been probably more appropriate. But it was a very volatile situation where the stock market was bottoming for the day, and there was a lot of volatility, and I kind of noticed some volume coming back in. I realized that it was the Fed was going to be, or Jay Powell was going to be speaking, doing like an emergency meeting, not really emergency meeting, but like just talking to the press really. And this was in anticipation of it, like the 10 minutes before. I noticed the buying come in, and I was like, oh, this is not going to wait for me at all, is it? And I'm not going to be able to get in at the lows. And so I kind of chased it a little bit and got in very accurately, but then I held it through basically the meeting. And the meeting for what it's worth, Jay Powell was just saying that he's not gonna bail out the stocks. Like the stocks aren't what he looks at. The market turmoil is not what he looks at. He looks at the jobs and then the inflation data, and both those things are okay now, but tariffs are going to put pressure on prices. And so he's more concerned about lowering interest rates and allowing inflation to get out of control. And so that kind of just like the market had a little bit of hope that it would recover because Jay Powell would like maybe do a quarter point cut, something random like that, even just to like gently support the market or signal that he would support the market if it like goes lower like this. But it just wasn't materially the time to do it. And so he doesn't do that. And the market hesitates around a little bit. But then as I'm getting coffee out, I keep getting notifications as the market keeps pushing lower and lower and lower and lower throughout the day. And I get back and it ends low and it goes even lower after hours, which is what made me think that there's going to be a bouncy bounce, probably opening higher, or if not, it's going to open lower in the pre-market on Monday. And if it opens low enough, maybe it just gets bought from the pre all the way up to the open and just continues to rally higher. The bear market bounces tend to be very violent, and I will be trying to be careful. Anyways, that's about it. It's Friday. I'm about to take off. Yeah. Also, a little side note, there hasn't been the type of volatility that there was in 2021, I believe it was, 2022, where it was making Thinkorswim glitch. And I doubt that we've kind of like seen the bottom, because because I doubt that what's it called, the Thinkorswim has their enough servers online all the time to account for that. I don't think we've seen enough trading volume to make him glitch out like that. Maybe we have, because like I haven't experienced any trading. Maybe Schwab, once they took Thinkorswim over, just got so good. But I kind of, in the back of my head, I feel like everything is too calm. There's a sense of just consistent selling and not a sense of panic yet. Although it's a very significant selling, but it's significant selling on what doesn't seem to be freaking out. And in fact, this sell-off rate here into the kind of like 2 o'clock hour, just before the 2 o'clock hour, and then bouncing back up, that was, or the 11 o'clock, I'm sorry. 2 o'clock's normally when the Fed spoke early today, or Jay Powell spoke early. But this was the only time that I really felt the panic in the market. And things felt like it was getting crazy. We're just making new low. Again, I had alerts set because I didn't want the market to be falling apart while I'm trying to take a trade on a small cap stock and have the trade fall apart because I didn't recognize that. And so I just had alerts at the lows in case anything goes down. But if you look at the daily chart, it actually looks pretty significant. I mean, that's the 4-hour chart. If the daily chart's just like, gaps lower here, continues lower, gaps like much lower and continues much lower. And so now, closing down here at 500, basically from being a high of 567. That's, we are now down. Let's do a little test here. We can go. We are now down. It's not showing me. Come on. Minus 17.7%. Approximately. So, for what it's worth, We can look at, Apple's an interesting one. Apple is a really fun one. Apple is now down. Come on. Oh, okay. Only 30%. It was funny. Late in the day, everything seemed to be kind of bouncing, or at least holding its lows. Where's do I have Nvidia up here? Let's go up. So Nvidia was like Nvidia held this kind of like $93 low, and it didn't really bounce between. But Apple seemed to be really driving the selling towards the end of the day. It makes a new low. Like this was that earlier 11 o'clock low, and then makes a new low here, makes an even lower low here, and then kind of continues on in the after hours a little bit. Down 7%, Nvidia down 7% as well, but I think Nvidia might be down more overall. Let me double check my theory here. Yeah, Nvidia is down. Nvidia down about 40%, right? Right. Yeah, and so these stock, we kind of saw the same thing with Tesla, and then like Tesla at this point is down 50 or so percent. It's basically everything's getting repriced like minus 50%. But because it had already repriced down here earlier, like last week, it hasn't really fell apart in the same way that these other names have fallen apart. It's gotten held up really well comparatively to the rest of the market, even with all this selling happening, because it's like the wind already got taken out of it and it's sort of like repriced at a more natural level. And then you have Gap, where it was, let's see what it dropped to, 17. All right, so Gap dropped 20%. It was already not fantastic. It looks like the market was pricing in from maybe up here, but down 44% from like that local high, but that's not actually the high. The high was over here at 57, but that was years ago. I was over in 2000, so whatever. Gap is not a company anymore, it looks like. Nike, it looks like it's subject to very similar kind of pressures, kind of peaking in 2020. Margins are being squeezed. A lot of these retailers, their margins, what everyone's talking about. This is not me doing the analysis. This is just me kind of parroting bullshit that I hear across different platforms. Is that Nike has just been getting pressured from their what's it? they're getting. I looked at a text message and got caught off train of thought, but they're getting pressured just because they're probably just going to have to pay the 40% import fee, and that'll squeeze their margins. Because from what I understand, it's not going to be worth it to make a factory in America because everyone gets paid too high here. So, say la vie, they're going to make their shit in Vietnam, pay the whatever 40% or whatever it ends up being at the end of the tariff negotiations, I guess. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But even going into the tariff talk, they were still on this kind of downdraft. Wow, the short was already made pretty much here. Interesting. Yeah, I don't trade large caps. The only trade I've taken was the TQQQ shorts that I was taking at the announcement, just because I kind of was able to read it at this point right here. Now this thing is down 30%. Damn, that short would have been a juicy thing to hold on to. Oh, even with just 100 shares. But, it's always a risk. You're short and you wake up to it being up a whole bunch and then you're just like, at least long. You're not really going against the grain as much. Although this is a pretty ugly chart. Set down a lot. Down 50%. Okay. And then SPYs, let's Q. No, let's go Qs. The tech sector is down. Tech sector is down about 23%. Okay. So it's not, honestly, it's not crazy. You had similar stuff happen over here in 2021. And of course, the stupidity of the freaking COVID. Looks like this was 2020. Was this what it was? Oh, it's crazy how it only came down. Huh. Doesn't even seem like a whole lot. Like you look at this stuff and you look back on it and you're like, but it doesn't, it's not even a lot. How did it? I don't know. Yeah. And so this will probably end up being one of the same thing. Like, look, you had a similar action here where it's chalk, chalk, chalk. What is this? I can't even tell what year that is. 2020 something, 2022. 2022, yeah, it kind of just like falls apart right there. Some news, whatever. And then this goes back to August. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to be done musing about stuff. I'm going to be done thinking about stocks at least till later in the evening. I'm going to be structuring a bounce trade for next week, but that's something that I have to do so it doesn't kind of interrupt my liquidity for day trading. Also because I have part of my money tied up in a money market fund, which will take a Anyways, I'm not paying attention anymore. You guys have a wonderful evening. Talk to you later. Bye. Oh, day trading is risky, by the way. Don't do it. Trading's risky. Don't do it. This is not investment advice. Don't listen to me. Literally just to look back on. Anyways, peace out, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.